Hello, little friends! Are you ready for another amazing adventure with our hero, Paul? Today, we're going to hear the exciting conclusion of his dangerous journey at sea. This is part 3 of Paul's big ocean adventure. So grab your favorite snack, get comfy, and let's dive in. For a super long time, 14 whole days and nights, the big ship carrying Paul had been tossed around by a huge storm. Imagine being on a giant roller coaster that never stops, with wind howling and huge waves splashing everywhere. It was dark, it was scary, and everyone on board was very, very worried. They hadn't seen the sun or the stars for so long, and they had completely lost their way in the middle of the vast, wild sea. The sailors, who were usually so brave, were starting to lose hope. They thought they might never see land again. In the middle of a very dark and stormy night, something changed. Around midnight, the sailors started to hear a new sound. It wasn't just the wind or the crashing waves. It was a sound that made them listen very, very closely. Could it be? Yes. They started to think they were getting close to land. To check, they did something really clever. They took a long rope with a weight on the end and dropped it into the water to see how deep it was. It was deep, but not as deep as the middle of the ocean. A little while later, they measured again, and the water was even shallower. This was great news. It meant land was definitely nearby. But wait, there was a new problem. Because it was so dark, they were afraid the ship might crash into some hidden rocks before they could see the shore. That would be a disaster. So, the quick-thinking sailors threw 4 big, heavy anchors from the back of the ship. An anchor is like a giant metal hook that digs into the seabed to stop a ship from moving. Plop! Splash! Down went the anchors, grabbing onto the ocean floor and holding the ship safely in place. With the ship secured, all they could do was wait and pray for daylight to come so they could see where they were. Now, some of the sailors got a bit scared and tried to sneak away. They pretended they needed to put more anchors down from the front of the ship, but really, they were lowering the little lifeboat to escape all by themselves. That wasn't a very nice thing to do, was it? They were going to leave everyone else behind on the big, stormy ship. But Paul, who was always watching and always brave, saw what they were doing. He knew that everyone needed to stay together to be safe. So he went to the centurion, the Roman soldier in charge, and said, "Hey! If those men don't stay on the ship, nobody can be saved." Paul trusted God's promise that everyone would be safe, but he also knew they all had to do their part and work as a team. The centurion listened to Paul. He knew Paul was a wise man. So, the soldiers quickly ran over and cut the ropes to the little lifeboat. Whoosh! The empty boat drifted away into the dark sea. Now, nobody could sneak away. Everyone had to stay on the big ship together, just as Paul had said. They were all in this together, and they would face the morning together. As the first hints of morning started to light up the sky, Paul knew it was time to give everyone a boost of courage. They were all tired, hungry, and scared. For 14 days, they'd been too worried to eat a proper meal. Can you imagine going 2 whole weeks without eating your dinner? They must have been so weak. So, Paul stood up in the middle of all 276 people on that ship and spoke with a loud, cheerful voice. He said, "Friends, for 14 days you have been waiting and worrying, without eating anything. That's a long time to go without food, but now I need you to eat something. You need your strength to be saved. Eat up! Get strong, because I promise you not a single hair on any of your heads will be lost." His words were like a warm hug for everyone on the ship. He was reminding them of God's promise. He was telling them not to be afraid and that everything was going to be okay. He wasn't just talking, he was showing them what to do. Then, Paul did something very important. He took some bread for everyone to see. He held it up and thanked God for it. Right there, in front of everyone! He gave thanks for the food. Then, he broke the bread and started to eat. Seeing Paul eat with such confidence and thankfulness gave everyone else the courage they needed. It was like a little spark of hope that spread through the entire ship. Suddenly, everyone felt better. They weren't as scared anymore. They remembered Paul's words and saw his bravery. So, they all started to eat too. One by one, they took some food and filled their hungry tummies. Munch, Munch, munch. For the first time in 2 weeks, the ship was filled with the sound of people eating and regaining their strength instead of the sound of worry and fear. They were finally feeling hopeful again, all thanks to Paul's faith and leadership. After everyone had eaten and felt strong and happy again, they needed to make the ship lighter so it could get closer to the shore without getting stuck. So, they all worked together and started throwing the ship's cargo of wheat into the sea. Splash! Out went the heavy grain, making the ship float higher in the water. They were a team, working together, ready for the sun to rise and to finally reach the land safely. And that's where we'll leave our story for today. What an incredible adventure. Paul showed everyone that even in the scariest storms, having faith and staying together makes all the difference. Wasn't that an amazing story of courage? We'll find out what happens next in our next video. Thank you so much for joining me today, my little adventurer. If you loved hearing about Paul's journey, please give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next part of the story. See you next time. Bye-bye!